Hi, Deb from Aussie Maille. Welcome to our latest chainmail demonstration video. Hi guys, welcome to our channel. It's really good to see you guys here. Today I'm going to be demonstrating a weave that was a request from one of our watchers here on YouTube. I'm going to show you how to do the XX weave. Now this weave is a little tricky. I would aim it more towards intermediate mailers. Okay, so if you're ready, let's get started. So here are some sample pieces of the XX weave in various gauges. So I'll start with 14 gauge AWG, which is 1.6mm diameter wire, and the rings that I've used here are 3/8 of an inch or 9.53mm. The next one is 16 gauge AWG, which is 1.2mm diameter wire, and the ring sizes here are 9/32 of an inch or 7.14mm. Okay, the next one is 18 gauge AWG, which is 1mm diameter wire. The ring size I used here was 5.75mm. And then the 20 gauge, which is 0.8mm diameter wire. The ring ID for this one is 3/16 of an inch or 4.76mm. So I didn't have anodized aluminium in these two gauges that were close to the size that was needed, which is why they are in both in silver. But the 20 gauge makes a beautiful bracelet. The 14 gauge is very, very chunky. It's almost weapon size, I think. But that gives you an idea of what it looks like across the different gauges. And today I will be showing you how to do this using the 14 gauge size, which is the 3/8 of an inch. So the ring counts and everything for making a bracelet will be in the description tab below the video. But just for the 3/8 that we'll be doing today, to make a piece that's approximately 20 centimeters in length or 8 inches, you'll need a total of around 128 rings. So if you're going to want to make that 2 colors, you'll need, around about half of bright aluminium and half anodized aluminium. You'll also need to complete this weave a twist tie or a paper clip, a piece of scrap wire, whatever you've got to have a handle to hold on to at the beginning. And you'll need 2 pairs of smooth jawed pliers. Our pliers here that we're using today are the Xuron pliers. These ones are the chisel nose, and these ones are the short nose pliers. Okay, so to start this weave, I'm going to open up one of my bright aluminium rings, and onto that I'm going to pop 2 of the coloured rings, close that ring up, and then I'm going to feed another bright aluminium ring through the coloured rings. So we're just creating a little chain that is 2 in length, that's all. So I'll just go ahead and close these rings now. Okay, and this one. All right, once you have those rings closed, grab your twist tie and put it through your first rings, the bright aluminium rings. Okay, so we've got our work looking like this so far. And then what we want to do is we want to take up another one of our bright aluminium rings, and we want to come up through our anodized aluminium ring, and we want to pick up just one of the bright aluminium rings, the first pair there. Okay, so up through both of the the anodized aluminium rings, and then coming up and Mobiusing up through one BA ring. Okay, and we close that up. So our work currently looks like this. And then we want to do this sort of the same on the other side. So again, with an open BA ring, this time we're coming up through the anodized ring. and then from the outside we're going in and picking up the bright aluminium ring as well. Close that up. So once you've got those two rings in place, what we next want to do is grab up an anodized aluminium ring, and we're going to insert that between the two AA rings that are already in place, but through all four of those bright aluminium rings. So we do that, we go between the AA rings, picking up all those four, but when we come out on the other side, we want that ring to actually be resting on top of our AA rings. So here we went in between. Here we want this ring to be resting on top. Okay, so close that up. And you can see that ring in place there. So it's going through the two rings on this side, through all four of our bright aluminium rings. But when we bring it out the other side, we want it to sit on top of the anodized aluminium ring. Okay, so that's the first, because we always work in pairs in this weave. So our second ring in this pair, again, we're going to go through the middle of the two rings that are already in place, through all four of the bright aluminium rings. But when we come out the other side, we want it to be underneath the ring, the anodized aluminium rings. See that, how it's underneath the two pairs that were in place already? Okay, so close that up. All right, so that second ring goes underneath the first one of the pairs, through the two AA rings, in between the two AA rings, through all four of the bright aluminium rings, and when it pops out the other side, it's not going to be in between those two rings, it's going to be on the underneath. Okay, so that it looks like that on the other side. Okay, so that's where we're at the moment. Again, we want to pick up a bright aluminium ring, and this time we want to come up from underneath. We're going to pick up all four of those anodized aluminium rings that are in there, and when we come up, we're going to be sitting on the outside of the bright aluminium ring that was placed before. Okay, so I'll show you again. So this is underneath. We go straight, we're going between the two bright aluminium rings this time, going through all of the anodized aluminium rings, and when we bring it up, we're going to be on the outside of the bright aluminium ring that's in place. Close that up. And that's the first ring, so we want to place our second ring of the pair. Okay, so again, going from underneath, we go through all of the anodized aluminium rings, we're between the bright aluminium rings, go and pick up all four of those anodized aluminium rings, and when we pop out the other side, we make sure that our bright aluminium ring is sitting to the outside of the previous bright aluminium rings, and we close that up. Okay, so this is what our work currently looks like. Now what we want to do is we want to flip this completely over so that our bottom now becomes our top, and we go back to our anodized aluminium ring and we put those in place. Okay, so again, coming in from the side, we go between the two bright anodized aluminium rings, Make sure we pick up all of the four bright aluminium rings. And when we bring it out the other side, we're sitting, on top of the anodized aluminium ring. So not in the middle there like I had it. We want to bring it up so that it sits on top of. Okay, we close that up. So that's the first of our rings. We're now going to place the second of the pair. again, we're going to go through between these two previous rings, underneath the ring we just placed, okay? We go straight into there, we pick up all 4 of those bright aluminium rings, and when we come out the other side, we make sure that we're underneath the anodized aluminium ring that's in there already. Okay, so making sure you pick up all 4, you go through the middle of all 4 of the last of the bright aluminium rings and come out underneath the AA ring and close that up. And your work looks like this. Okay. This time we're taking a bright aluminium ring, so you can see our bright aluminium rings are all stacking one way and our anodized aluminium rings are always stacking the other way. Okay. So now we're going to place our bright aluminium ring, and if you look at it from underneath, what we're going to do is we're going to come up between the bright aluminium rings that are already in place, scoop up these 4 anodized rings and pop out on the outside here of the bright aluminium ring. So we go in through there, all the way through, making sure we pop out on this side of the bright aluminium ring, on the outside of it, sitting on top of that bright aluminium ring that's already there in pattern. Okay, there's a few things you need to keep your eye on when you're doing this weave. Okay, so it needs to look like that. So you can see we're sitting on top of this previous ring, on the outside of these 2 rings. Okay, we're going to put our next ring through the same position, and this time when it pops out, I'll show you. So again, going up through the bottom, we're going to go between our 2 bright aluminium rings that are already in place, picking up all 4 of those anodized aluminium rings and popping out on the other side. Okay, making sure that we are underneath that ring that is already in place. Okay, and close that up. Oh, sorry, not underneath, on top, my apologies. So when it comes out, it pops up on top. And then what we want to do is we want to turn our work completely over again, so our top becomes our bottom. Okay, and we're looking at placing our AA ring, and we want it to go on top. So that's what I'm looking for here. I'm always going to place this first anodized aluminium ring so it sits on top of the previous one. So you can see that this one is already on top of. So when I flip it over, this one here was underneath, the next one goes on top. So it goes underneath, on top, underneath, on top. That's the pattern we're maintaining. So when I put that first AA ring in, and just say I've put it down and I've lost which way I'm supposed to be doing this, if I pick it up and I look for the side that's got the most recent AA ring sitting underneath the previous one, and that's the side I want to start working on. Okay, and you want to make sure that you've got the middle rings in place, that they're the most end pair rings. If I was to pick this up and I didn't have my silver rings there, just say that they're not there and it just looked like this at the end, then I know that I need to place some middle rings in there first before I place my anodized rings. So just showing you again with the anodized rings, coming in from the side, you can see that we're going to go between the most recently placed anodized rings, and we're going to go down through there, through that eye you can see there, scooping up 4 of our bright aluminium rings. So we're just going straight in there. But when we come out, we want to make sure that we angle that ring up so that it sits on top of the AA ring. So it goes between there, but when it comes out, it sits on top. Okay, and we close that up. And then we place the second anodized ring in this pair. Again, we go through the same space in the middle, This time though, we make sure we angle underneath the second placed ring there. Okay, and we close that up. And we're looking at it like this. So now we need to place our middle rings, our bright aluminium rings. Okay, and to do that, looking at it from the bottom, this time we're going between the bright aluminium ring through the 4 anodized aluminium rings, popping up on the outside of the bright aluminium ring. And you can see that that naturally rests it on top of the ring that is previously in the weave. Okay, so like that. And then we want to place our second bright aluminium ring. Again, looking from the bottom, we're going to go between the 2 bright aluminium rings that are in place. We're going to pick up the 4 anodized aluminium rings, and then when we come out the other side, we're going to be sitting on the outside of that middle pair of rings on top of the previously placed bright aluminium ring. Okay, and this is what our work looks like. So now I want to place an anodized aluminium ring, and I need to place that on top of the ring that was previously underneath. So you can see this one is sitting on top of the previous ring. So I know I actually want to flip this over to the other side. We can see now that this ring, most recent ring, is sitting underneath, so that's the side we want to be working on. We grab the anodized aluminium ring. Coming in at the side, we go between the 2 anodized aluminium rings that are in there, and we go straight through the middle there, straight through that eye, picking up the 4 most recent BA rings. So straight through, okay? But when we come out the other side, we don't want to come out the middle. We want to come up angled on top of that previous AA ring. Close it up. And then place the second one in the pair, doing the same, going in from the side, going between the 2 rings, picking up the 4 BA rings, and this time angling it so that our ring comes out underneath that pair that's in there. Okay, you can see that it's sitting on top of this one here, so everything looks great. So we close it up. You may find sometimes that these rings wriggle out of place and it might come in underneath there. You'll know as you go further along if that's happened, because it becomes difficult to weave. So just keep an eye on it, making sure that the stacking for the rings is staying the same. So you can see this one here has moved slightly out of place. So I'm just going to wriggle that up so that it now sits in place properly. Okay, and so you just keep repeating those steps, remembering to flip your work over every time you place a new pair of middle rings, or in this case the anodized aluminium rings. So here I would place my middle rings, my silver rings, and then I would flip the work over, and then I would start placing my next AA ring. Okay, so you do that for the length that you require your bracelet to be. So if you're working in this one, it is, as I've shown you here, quite thick. It's very chunky, and if you normally weave about 8 inches and that's enough for your bracelet, you want to weave a little bit more. Because it's so big and so bulky, you need it to be actually a little bit longer than you would normally weave. Now to finish this off, I've just taken another ring of the same size, and I've just sort of gone through at an angle and picked up those last 4 rings. Okay, then depending on your clasp, you could just add your clasp to this end ring, or you could add a smaller clasp attachment ring and attach your clasp. But I liked doing it this way because it sort of locked these 4 rings in place. If I only went to the end rings, it made the ones in the middle feel a little floppy, especially in this thicker gauge. But that would be my suggestion for finishing this bracelet off. Alright guys, that's our video today. I really hope you enjoyed the tutorial and it was helpful to you. If it was helpful to you, don't forget to give us a thumbs up here at YouTube. If you have any questions or comments, we'd love to hear from you, so drop them down in the comment section below. If you would like to support our channel and you haven't subscribed already, consider subscribing. Check out some of our other videos that we have on our channel, and last but not least, give our shop link a click and you'll be able to find all the tools and components that we use here for this and many of our other tutorials. Alright guys, thanks again for popping along today, and I hope that we will see you again sometime in the very near future. Alright then, bye!